division, and what a season it is shaping up to be. If you take a look back at the NFC South predictions prior to the season, you'll see that the experts had it pegged. What's that? The experts were horribly wrong? We should probably stop calling them that? I see. Well, at least they were right about everyone else. They're so good at what they do. Anyways, it's becoming pretty clear that the road to Super Bowl 52 goes straight through the NFC South, I-85 to be exact. With 3 teams all within 1 game of each other vying for a playoff spot, it's increasingly likely that the South will be the sole beneficiaries of the NFC's wildcard spots. The question here is, who's getting that division title? At this point, it's anyone's guess. Of course, I'm a bit biased, so I think you know where I stand on things. It's the Buccaneers. It's always the Buccaneers. No, but there's a lot to look at when talking about the NFC South, especially with this upcoming week. You know what time it is. It's a Brothers Blue special edition. The race for NFC South Supremacy. We'll take a look at each of our fellow NFC South teams and break down how they could win the division, or die trying. Which brings us to our first team, the so-called connoisseurs of W's.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight?
It's hard to believe his team wasn't exactly fired up after that. I know the speech changed my life. Though the Buccaneers have vastly underperformed this year, there is still one way they could win the division. It's simple. Join the AFC West. They'd fit right in. But really though, they'd only be a couple games out of first place. All kidding aside, the Bucs are much better than their record, and they've fallen victim to a few close games. With a healthy Winston, they actually have one of the better offenses in the NFL. Throw in All-Pro Mike Evans, a solid O-line, and Blazer Deshaun Jackson, and they could be a force to be reckoned with. That being said, no one's exactly reckoning their force at 4-7. With their current record, they'd have to win out the rest of their season even to be in playoff consideration. And even then, they'd likely miss out on a wild card in this year's deep pool of talented teams. It's safe to say the Buccaneers are playing for pride at this point. Pride and all the W's you can eat.
How many people want to eat a W tonight?
Unlike our next team, the Atlanta Falcons, affectionately known as the Dirty Birds. The Super Bowl hangover is real. Trust us, Atlanta, we feel your pain. Of course, we did have one of the greatest seasons of all time. And now thinking about it, didn't blow a 25-point lead in the span of a quarter. But pain felt nonetheless. You know what? Maybe pain adjacent. Atlanta hasn't been able to replicate the offense that propelled Matty Ice to become the MVP. And their consolidated dominance has been replaced by streaking inconsistency. Though that's not to say this is a bad team. Quite the contrary. This is still a complete squad with the tools to be leading a host of divisions not named the NFC South. We shouldn't be putting our guard down. The Falcons are only 1 game behind the Panthers, and we can hear their footsteps are coming. Just one slip up and they can regain the NFC South supremacy. Which brings us to our biggest threat. The one, the only, the New Orleans Bounty Hunters. Now, who would have seen this coming? The Saints are dominant right now, but not in the way we're used to seeing. They've been on a roll since losing their first 2 games. They've transformed their frankly laughable defense into one of the stingiest in the league, and perhaps most surprisingly, they've become an offensive wrecking ball on the back of their power run game. If I didn't know any better, I think I was talking about the Panthers. And it's clear they've been taking notes, because the comparisons don't stop there. Rookie running back Alvin Kamara has added an entirely new dimension to the Saints offense through the passing game. He's given Cool Breeze a check down that's more effective than most actual receivers. Sound familiar? From the power run, the former Panther leading their defense, and another familiar face stretching opposing defenses, they're probably the closest thing in the league to a Panthers clone. Step aside, Seahawks.
Talking about how similar the Seahawks are to the Panthers, Bennett saying, quote, "It's so much alike, man. It's like you look at a girl who looks like you and you find out it's your cousin, so you can't go on a date with her even though you'd like to because she looks like you. But then you see her friend and her friend's really hot and you're like, that's not my cousin, so it's good."
Trade Newton's astonishing athleticism for Drew Brees' impeccable intelligence, and we're looking in the mirror. Watching the rise of the Saints this year has been kind of frightening. It started off when the 0-2 Bounty Hunters absolutely routed us at home. At the time, it seemed like we were bound for a losing season. I mean, how else could we have lost by more than 20 points to a winless team? Though, as the season progressed, it seemed as though the answer was one of both relief and disbelief. We weren't headed for a losing season, but neither were the Saints. Without a doubt, we are in the strongest division in the NFL. The Panthers are Super Bowl contenders. The Saints are Super Bowl contenders. The Falcons Super Bowl contenders. These statements aren't mutually exclusive. All three could win the division. And in terms of probability, I mean, we're all neck and neck. It's essentially the reverse 2014. Except for the Buccaneers, of course. They're forever alone. This is going to be the single most important week of the season. Not only do the Falcons face their most difficult opponent yet in the 9-2 Vikings, but we will also witness the showdown of the century. The 8-3 Panthers and 8-3 Saints will face off for the top spot in the division. Be excited. Be very excited. This one's for all the marbles. Well, that is all we have for you today, Panther Nation. If you like our videos, let us know by liking, subscribing, and sharing them. I'll let you in on a little secret. I hear that if you subscribe, you might have a chance to win $1 million. You know what? I've got to check this out for myself. My gosh. I should have never doubted. I didn't even know you could subscribe to yourself. As always, be sure to answer our question of the day in the comment section. Who do you think has the best chance to win the division? And who's going to be the wild card for that matter? Let's get the discussion going. I will see your beautiful faces soon. Stay blue, my friends.
I'm a boss like Bowser. Did it for my bro like Alja. Did it in a row like Alja. That's nostalgia. Did it without ya. Did it without ya.